Hey guys, if you like this content, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys like the video and subscribed to my channel. It helps make these videos worth it going forward. Hey guys, it's AltCoinSherpa here with a crypto market review. As always, this is not financial advice. I'm not an expert doing research. Okay, let's just look at BTC USD on the daily. This is just the range high at 41K. This area has been tapped several times. As you can see here, it's been resistance every single time, and price has not been able to break through it. But I have a feeling that this area will break relatively soon. There's several reasons for that. I mean, I've been a strong proponent about 45 to 50,000 being tapped. However, it's taken much longer than I thought. Overall, I thought that I really felt that there's just like a lot more liquidity up near 50K relative to these lower levels. And given how many people got liquidated on this way down, I was always really pretty confident that 50K was going to get tapped, and I still am. With that said, I mean, there's not really an active trade right here, in my opinion. I mean, shorty 41K is a solid move. Of course, it's the range high, so expecting this area to be resistance still. Relative to the range lows, which, you know, it's best to think, in my opinion, of these lows as just like kind of an area, because these straight SR levels, like what we're seeing at like 30K, like these swing lows, it's really hard to differentiate some of these levels because of how many times these areas have been tapped. Like, you know, these demand areas have gotten tapped over and over and over again. Like the significant swing low would be like this first spike down at 28K, and it depends on what exchange you were looking at in terms of the chart. But these other swing low areas, I mean, like as I said, it's hard to differentiate specific straight SR lines. It's best to think of it as like an area or a range of support or demand or whatever you want to call it. So anyways, what are we seeing right here? We're seeing that price has made its way up to the range high around 41K, and we're seeing a little bit of a pullback. Here's BTC USD on the 4-hour. As I always say across all my videos, resistance and support gets weaker and weaker the more times it's tapped. I was a little bit concerned about this demand area getting tapped over and over and over again around 28,000. I mean, price was tapping it over and over again, and those orders are getting filled. Now, with that said, it's important to understand the context that this area is still within its same consolidation zone within the last several months. It's a little bit different, in my opinion, comparing this versus the $6,000 level that we saw back in 2018, where we saw this 2018 $6,000 level getting tapped over and over, but over like many months. Like, you know, you saw this initial spike down in February, and it gets tapped, like this area gets tapped in April, area gets tapped in June, again in August, and all throughout September and November. All this area is just getting tapped over and over again. Now, contextually, it's quite a bit different when you see price consolidating in a specific area without other moves. So in other words, like, you know, we saw this demand area getting tapped quite a bit in January, but this was just bullish consolidation and price continued higher. Now, I'm not saying the context is the same as it was in January, but the lessening demand comparison to 2018 is a little bit different from here versus back in 2018 because of the amount of time that price is spent in this area. Now, if price goes like up again to like, you know, 50,000, taps 30,000 again, makes its way back up to like 45, and then again taps 30,000 again, that's a time where you should be very concerned because of the demand getting tapped over and over again and the amount of time spent in between each tap. But when it's consolidating like this, I think it's a little bit less a concern in terms of the overall strength of support and resistance areas. Right now, I would say that not much has changed from a total high time frame point of view. I still am viewing $50,000 as I always have. There's a lot of reasons for that, but like volume profile, it shows, like as you can see here, like, you know, 45 to 50,000 kind of area is like the next area up, in my opinion. There's like high volume node up near that area, a lot of trading activity. it seems like traders like that area in terms of liquidity, so price will go up there. I would caution buying right at this area though. I mean, it's probably better to try to look for a pullback around 36K. You could look at the EQ of the range as well. Like, there's a lot of different ways that you can chart this yourself, but if you if you use this initial spike down here, like the EQ is actually right near this point of control area, which is kind of like interesting, right around 34.5K. Now, will price go down there? I don't know. Like, I mean, like, you could consider just buying at 36K. That's like a pretty decent SR level in my opinion, and still pretty high volume area. There's also some other confluence of that area with some of the moving averages. Like, this is like the EMA. I would expect that this 200 EMA, the red line, will start to cross up, and you'll start to see this kind of crossing up right near like 36K. So like, 36K is like the area that I would look to buy personally. But as soon as if you see, it depends on how price gets there. Like, if you see price kind of like, pulling back, knocking on the door again, pulling back, knocking on the door again, you start to see like this higher low kind of pattern, then it looks usually like that type of pattern is pretty good in a bullish market context. Now, obviously we're not in a bullish market context, but if it starts to make higher lows and knocking on the door of resistance, then you can maybe assume that price will spike higher. Contextually, it's also very interesting to see that these EMAs are finally starting to bullishly cross for the first time really in months. Like, we haven't seen these bullish crosses really since May, and then really you can see this 200 EMA, this red line, act as support all throughout February and March, and then it trades below it after that. But we're now seeing that this red line, the 200 EMA, which is, in my opinion, somewhat significant, you can see that it's bullishly crossed now for the first time, again, in a very long time. And these EMAs also look pretty healthy. So, in my opinion, dips are for buying in this current range. I do believe that 50K will get tapped, 45 to 50,000. And after that, I actually have no idea. From a macro standpoint, I've had these thoughts for a while, and anyone who's watched my videos probably has known this. I've been like pretty strong opinion that 50,000 will get tapped. Something like this would make a lot of sense to me. Something like, squeeze up, and then we'll see a pullback, and then we'll see like higher lows and lower highs. And this is like kind of what I'm expecting. Something like this, like some sort of consolidation, and then chop around, like, some deviations. But, something like this would make a lot of sense to me. So some more chop, and then like a strong move in Q4. Now, will price break all-time highs in 2021? Like, I still believe that it will, but it's maybe just bullish hopium for me. And like, it's one of those things where like your heart says yes, but your mind says no, because I mean, you still can't call this a bullish market context on the daily. Like, this still is like making lower highs, lower lows. Yeah, I mean, I think that you might just need to see a lot more consolidation before you start to consider this breaking all-time high levels. But like, given the overall context of the market, it's really going to depend on like COVID, like Delta variant moving around, and like Fed raising rates, and like a few other macro things. Crypto still is like a risk-on asset, so like we're going to have to see what happens in regards to that. So anyways, I'm just going to be reviewing Bitcoin today, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I expect to get some more videos out over the next few days. I'll probably get some out on Ethereum and some altcoins, so please check those out, and I am looking forward to getting back to it. Thank you so much for the support.